for itself as we go forward. I mean, the two speakers here are, well known because, I mean, they have already spoken to you and they have very, very strong points of view. And it would be interesting to see them talk to each other and sort of come out with points that would be interesting to us. And there, Mrs. Roy is with us. She's a senior advisor with Niti Aayog, which is the premier body which sort of advises the Indian government and, lays directions to policy. And I think as much as Times Network would be a very good platform or an agent to make popular opinion, Niti Aayog is extremely well poised to make the same kind of points of view within the annals, within the corridors of power, where this kind of a subject needs to be heard more. She's the foremost expert on this, and under her charge is this subject of AI data and all that goes into this particular area, and therefore we believe that her presence here was very, very important, and her contributions to this debate will be interesting. So to start off with, as I started talking about, I think, there are two parts here. And when we talk about AI, we usually start jumping towards what's called as AGI, generative or general intelligence, artificial general intelligence. And then there is AI itself, which is most of the apps, the phones, our ATC, I think even traffic, most of the stuff that we currently do, social media, recommendations, YouTube, all these have, already got AI embedded. And AI, as we currently see, the most interesting that came about 3 months back and which has got sort of taken everybody's interest is ChatGPT and how it sort of does certain cool things. And those cool things can be sort of suddenly become a competitor to us, to our jobs, etc. So it's suddenly become very interesting. But I think those are in the area of how artificial intelligence is currently changing our lives. The other is, what is the end game of artificial intelligence if it goes, unchecked and gets to a point where it becomes independent and starts thinking for itself and starts correcting itself and becomes super intelligent, and then what happens? And that's what we saw in Callum's presentation and to some extent towards the end in Gerd's presentation as to how to do, what to do, and what not to do in that area. So I think without much ado, you talked about, Callum, to start off with, you talked about, the topmost companies which are countries which are in this space are US and China, and they are the topmost because there is nobody else anywhere close to them. In fact, it's a clump of other countries which are in the 0 to 20 scale, which I saw in your graph, and the rest of them are in 60 or 100, US being 100, China being 60. So how dangerous is this subject to be left to a duopoly? What will happen to populations and countries and corporations outside of the duopoly?
I don't think it's necessarily dangerous for people outside the duopoly if AI is mostly developed by America and China, but I don't think it's ideal. Partly because there's 8 billion of us on this planet, and really we all, or every country has a contribution to make, and it would be better if everybody was involved. Undoubtedly, countries which develop leading-edge AI will make money out of it. The tech giants in America have become the biggest companies in the world over a decade or two by exploiting that technology, and it'd be a good thing for other countries to benefit from that too. But at the end of the day, whether an app is developed or a platform is developed in Bangalore or in Beijing, it doesn't really matter to the user. We can all benefit from it. But I do think it would be a good thing if more countries got involved. I just do think a duopoly is a little bit fragile and unhelpful.
The other point that you made yesterday when we were talking was the democratization of AI, as most of them are already embedded into consumer products. We want to talk something about that?
Yeah, I'm sure we all take it for granted, but I still find it somewhat miraculous, the services that the tech giants provide us. If you brought somebody from the Victorian era to the modern age and showed them cars, which can get us around much faster than they probably thought was ever possible, and said to them, we'll soon have flying cars and self-driving cars. They would find all that quite amazing. But if you then showed them Wikipedia and Google search and showed them that actually we've got something pretty close to omniscience, I think that would really impress them much more. So we have miracles already, and that's great. And we're going to have even more impressive miracles as AI gets more and more powerful. Now, AI is like any technology, it's dual use. You can have very good effects and you can have very bad effects. And we have to have regard to the short-term possible damages from privacy, from bias, from lack of transparency, lack of explainability of these models, and also the longer-term dangers from probable widespread technological unemployment, which could be very good if we figure out an economy to accompany it, or could be very bad if we don't. And ultimately, as you said, superintelligence and the existential threat which that poses to us, the very good possibilities and some very bad possibilities. But we do need to, bear both of those sides, the positive and the negative. My most important priority is that more people should be thinking about this. It's clear to me that AI is already an incredibly powerful technology, and it's going to become, if it isn't already, our most powerful technology. And although there's a lot of buzz about ChatGPT and GPT-4 now, it's not top of the news. And to me, it's by far the most important thing happening in the world. And AI is going to get more and more important. Most people in the world are not paying very much attention to the rapid pace that AI is developing at. They don't understand where it's going, and I think this is dangerous. Not, and I disagree with Gert here, actually I disagree with Gert on almost everything, in a very amiable way. Not because we can do very much about the course that AI will take. It will go the way it goes. But because the great danger is that we panic. If self-driving cars become very common, and everybody suddenly wakes up and thinks, wow, I'm going to lose my job. If that happens very quickly with no preparation, no acclimatization, that can lead to a panic, and that is very dangerous. So my main priority is to get more and more people realizing where this exponential journey is taking us so that we have as little panic as possible.
Thank you. So, Gerd, now let us come to your views on what this holds. I mean, and I think we can move to the singularity, superintelligence part of the conversation that we were having. And you in your session that you took earlier, were talking about that computers, I mean the AI or AGI is not going to be based in feelings and emotions and a lot of other intelligence that human beings use, and it's only going to be the intellectual or the logical part of it, and therefore it may not be the right thing to sort of allow it to go to a certain place. It should be used as a machine and an assistant. How do you think we are poised? Because in his session, he talked about red button, and he also said that it looks like people are not going to take their fingers off it, which means that red button is going to be pressed. And you said we have to not press it. How do we sort of really get there?
Okay.
Your talk was very, very persuasive, extremely convincing, but I was, after that thinking, how logical and how real is that it's going to be even possible to control it?
Okay. Well, first, I think that there's three topics that we need to examine and collaborate on a global level. First is climate change and energy. Yeah, we can't solve that in one country. This is something we have to do together. The second one is intelligent machines that are beyond the fancy software, what I call IA, right? Intelligent assistants. That's not per se dangerous. That's just a job factor, and it changes society. But a machine with an IQ of 1 billion, in the sense of logic, that is much more dangerous. So when we talk about this AI discussion on a global level, we need to think about IA, everyday thing, AI, which is better than that, and then general intelligence, which is a system that's a lot like a human, and also has a lot more capacity. That is the part where we're probably going to need a moratorium of a sort, because that is extremely powerful and has lots of military applications. Okay. The third thing we have to collaborate on is genetic engineering of everything, but also of humans, which is also, of course, based on AI. So to me, the climate change thing, we're doing that, we can solve it, that's my view. It's desperate, it's emergency, but we're going to solve it. Right? On the second part, we're nowhere close, and that is a big mistake. Because to me, I think Callum agrees on this, this is a much bigger topic in overall dimension, is what we're going to do with ourselves, how we're going to be humans in the future based on technology and based on genetic engineering. Right? So what makes me hopeful, however, is that we have in the past proven that we actually do collaborate as humans when we have a good reason. Nuclear, we had 2 bombs, we collaborated. Right? Financial crisis, COVID. So I do think that we're at the point where we're seeing with ChatGPT what the power of this could be if it became more intelligent. Right? And that will give us reason. I think we should not feel disempowered to actually do something about controlling it or convening something that will make us get the benefit without getting the advantage. And the problem that I'm seeing primarily also in India, but also worldwide, is the business of replacing humans with machines is a huge business, right? And it creates trillions of dollars. And the business of essentially creating machines that can be like humans is probably the biggest business per se. And it's a huge temptation. And we should resist the temptation to just go ahead and make money and then deal with the damage later. That may not be survivable. So I think this is the moment to think about how much do we like just growth, or how much do we like something larger than growth?
So I think, Callum, before we go to Anna, do you really think that this control is possible? And second is, you talked about the difference, similarity between human chimpanzee and superintelligence and human. How much control do we have, and what would be the real consequence? And do you really think it's going to be sort of possible to stop it? And touch upon transhumanism, as you said yesterday.
Short answer, no. I don't think we can control superintelligence. I don't think we can create it in a way that it's aligned before it becomes superintelligence and then remains aligned with our values and interests forever afterwards. I don't think that's possible. And I don't think we can control it after it exists. How can you control an entity which is 1,000,000 times smarter than you? I just think it's impossible. Now, there are very smart people. There's about 300 very smart people in 4 existential risk organizations around the world working on exactly that problem. And most of them are a lot smarter than me. And I wish them Godspeed, and maybe they will come up with a solution. But to me, it just looks impossible. It's like an ant trying to control a human being. I just don't think it's possible. So, sadly not. And then you asked about transhumanism. Shall I?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. So the area where Gert and I most like to disagree friendlily with each other is over transhumanism. Transhumanism is the idea that humans should be allowed to augment ourselves cognitively and physically as far as the technology will go. So if we can make ourselves immune from aging and immune from death because we're immune from aging, that would be a good thing. Death is a bad thing, so stopping death would be a good thing. Stopping having diseases, making ourselves stronger, smarter, wiser, able to jump over tall buildings. I think all this is a good thing, and that's why I'm a transhumanist. Gert thinks that there's a certain distance you can go down that road, and then we have to stop because we cease to be human at that point. And the nub of it is, I think, this. And this might be a bit unpopular, I don't think being human is the most important thing about us. I think the most important thing about us is our minds, our consciousness, and if we port our minds, our consciousness into machines, for me, that's absolutely fine. I don't think I would be human. If I did that, I'd be a post-human, and I would actually prefer that, because to live for thousands and thousands of years in a state of constant bliss with opportunities that I can hardly even imagine now, that sounds great to me.
Now, these sound quite bewildering, intimidating, to say the least. And we, with 1.4 billion population now, I think April 13th, we're going to be the largest populated country in the world forever in the future that we can think of, because China is going to drop after that. And if India is going to be that. India also prides itself on right now being the 5th largest economy, and by 2030 we are expecting to be the 3rd largest economy. And obviously, as we catch up on our average per capita GDP, we're going to be going to the 10 and 15 trillion size, which means we are going to be the top 3 players in the world, which gives us negotiating ability, and which also gives us a responsibility that we should be a player in this. Now, what is the Indian government in this space? Where is it the Indian government with reference to supporting research?